On social media, one drama became viral when Mendeecees revealed the startling information that a DNA test's findings revealed that Yandy had been concealing the reality of their family for many years, and fans were completely startled, doubting everything they believed they were aware of regarding the couple. Is Yandy concealing a significant secret? What does this imply about their feelings for the future? Increased as Mendeecees engaged Yandy in a contentious dispute that leaves us all perplexed. This marks the conclusion of one of the greatest watches as we discuss these well-known couples. This astounding scandal in detail, DC men were in disbelief at his gaze as he glanced down at the results of the DNA test. He held the paper in trembling fingers as its words shifted in front of his eyes, refused to accept it. But the harsh reality was directly in front of him. Yandy had been claiming that the child wasn't his. How could this have occurred at all? The lady he trusted with his confidence, Yandy, was the heart of the lady who supported him during This Is How Thick and Thin Betray Him. The room seemed to be enclosing him. The reality weighed heavily on him. He believed that their child wasn't even his. Thoughts were racing, recalling everything from his moments spent with the child. The birthday is fed late at night. How often does the family get together for parties? If he had gazed into those naive eyes and assured himself that he was acting appropriately. At remaining at Yandy's side, he was so shattered that he was barely able to breathe. After a brief delay, Mendeecees fled the home. On one problem, Yandy couldn't wait any longer. He needed to understand why she had done this and why she had misled him, caused the rage to intensify. It was only about the child. Everything, even the deceptions, tactics, and years of confidence that had recently been betrayed and he had no idea how he was feeling at the moment. Intending to confront Yandy upon seeing her, I couldn't fathom the rationale. He clarified this when he got to the entrance of the house was open already. With her back to the outside, Yandy was within, made supper without seeing the storm. On the verge of striking New York, he stood at the doorway for a while and took a deep breath. Take a breath before entering the tense area was heavy, and he had trouble controlling it. Yandy called out her voice to express his thoughts, calm yet with a growing hint of rage. Her looks changed as she turned to face him. Her grin softened. Yet that smile swiftly vanished upon noticing that his expression says, "Mendeecees, baby, what's wrong?" She inquired, approaching. With worry in her eyes, she responds, "Yandy," he remarked icily, displaying the results of a DNA test in front of her face. As he pressed the paper, his fingers trembled. His enraged eyes were scorching towards her. "Explain this." Yandy's expression transformed. The smile disappeared and was replaced with a look of terror, but she was unable to conceal it. Swallowed forcefully. "And step back," Mendeecees remarked. "I'm not sure what you're discussing. You have no idea what I'm speaking about." He spoke again. Ascending this test indicates that the youngster is, "How long has it been since you lied to us all? How long have you been doing this? Been keeping me in the dark about this?" Yandy, her lips opened to speak. But nothing came out. Emerged with the accusation's weight was too much for her to handle, yet she was at a loss for what to say. She didn't think Mendeecees would find out in this manner, and she most certainly wasn't ready to hear the rage in his voice. "I'm Mendeecees," she said, in a voice that didn't lie. Trembling little, "It's challenging and complex," Mendeecees almost yelled. "Do you believe that being honest with me was complex? Or are you telling lies? Been giving me difficult food?" Yandy's heart fell. She knew she couldn't get out of this by lying, but the truth, the complete truth, was what she wasn't certain. She was prepared to confront. She was overcome with humiliation, yet she had to express something that isn't similar to. You believe her voice was faint when she stated she didn't intend for it to reach this point. Did not intend for things to reach this point, and said, "You've been deceiving me over I've supported my own child, Yandy, as if he were my biological son." I've been a fool in Yandy's eyes this time. Tearful, she was unsure of what to state, that she had always considered herself as the powerful one who maintained everything at once. Oh. But now everything was disintegrating. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came from her lips. Instead, she just stood still while Mendeecees turned, striding in exasperation away from her. I don't know, Yandy. This is absurd. I stood by you, but I don't know what else to believe. Despite everything, this is how you pay me back. He was unable to look at the tears pouring down my cheeks because you injured me. Yandy's face went down as she attempted to speak. I didn't know how to tell you, please. Wasn't like this when I attempted to keep our family safe. Mendeecees' relatives interrupted her and turned around to confront her. Deceiving me by how could you have thought to lie to our son? Do you think that was protecting anyone? Recognize the effects this is having on us. Yandy suppressed a sob in her chest, tightening while she attempted to clarify herself, but her words couldn't reverse the harm that had already occurred. She had maintained a very important secret for so much time, and everything was finally coming to light. Mendeecees felt deceived and harmed, and his gaze said that he wasn't going to overlook this. This isn't only about Yandy Mendeecees' exam. It resumed, his voice full with emotion. It's about having faith in what we've constructed. We've experienced everything together as a lie now. How can I tell what's true? Yandy was standing there, powerless now. Trembling hands by her sides, she didn't have any response. She was unable to solve this, but she could simply wait for Mendeecees to make a decision. The quiet between them felt oppressive, and the air was heavy with the burden of their strained relationship. Do you ever love me? Mendeecees whispered, not quite too gently, but the agony on his face was so obvious that Yandy could hardly breathe. This was her chance to most dreaded, was the day when all of her she revealed truths that came tumbling down. When she opened her lips to speak, the words would not arrive. How could she respond to that? How could she explain the situation to him? Mendeecees turned aside as the stillness continued. From her once more, his voice more powerful with, I can't do this, he said with each step. I can't continue to act like that anymore, Yandy. When I don't need it, everything is good. I need time to think. Thus, I need space. Mendeecees left Yandy as they left via the door, standing among the wreckage of everything that they once carried. The burden of his departure devastated her, and she was aware in her heart that their people's lives would never be the same. Days after the abrupt departure of men were filled only with turmoil and chaos. Yandy was abandoned at the deserted house. Her heart aches as she searches for any indication of normalcy in a world that has been flipped upside down before. She never imagined this kind of event might occur. Following all they had experienced together, however, now that males have left DC and the truth is out, she doesn't know how to make things better. Her phone was vibrating all the time. Correspondence from loved ones and fans were all requesting answers. And everyone had their own thoughts and opinions on what had actually transpired. With some backing, Mendeecees asserted that he had good reason to be upset, and others who were devoted to Yandy attempted to tell her the truth to reassure her. When you come out, everything will be all right. But Yandy was aware of the harm that was done. There was no going back. When Mendeecees departed, he didn't simply leave their house. He left their house. She sensed the gap in her life expanding between them each hour. He wasn't returning her calls. Yandy was losing it as she responded to her SMS. She had no idea how to stop him. She was most struck by reality when she spoke with her mother, who had consistently been a constant source of assistance in her life. Mrs. Smith was enraged, her voice trembling with incredulity when Yandy informed her of how she could have allowed DNA findings to get Yandy's mother to beg her to pace this far. Throughout the living room, you deceived him, and now you've destroyed. Do you even comprehend what all of this is? I didn't intend for you to do this. Mom, you pleaded for the tears to stop pouring. I didn't want to injure her face, but at first, it wasn't like that. Didn't know how to be honest with him. Now look at her mother's narrowed eyes. In our current location, you have harmed your marriage and your family has been destroyed. Yandy, you must mend it, and you must ye sense the strain mounting, and hurried. It went beyond her relationship. DC no longer had guys. Thus, it was about all they had created for their family. But how could she make their future better? How could she repair something so damaged? Years of deceit and treachery in the meanwhile. Mendeecees was coping with his own issues. Support was shown by friends, family, and fans. Him helping him through the most difficult throughout his life. He was often perceived as the family's composed and resilient member. Although he now displayed his genuine, unfiltered emotions, no longer knew whom to trust. Was unsure of what was true one day. DC had a meeting with his brother, who had previously several highs and lows. For a short while, they sat in silence, not sure of how to begin the conversation. Finally, the man in DC spoke out, saying, "I never imagined I'd be here, buddy," he answered quietly. "And in agony, I believed I had it all. Everything I desired was loved by the family. And everything is now a lie," his brother said. Sensing how much anguish he was in, you don't have to rest on his shoulder. "Okay, man, tell us about yourself. We're here to help. I have no idea what you're in need of. I need more MC," he remarked. She betrayed her sentiments by lying to Yandy. "I threw everything at her and she did. I'm not sure how to look at this. Have you spoken to her in the same manner as before?" His brother questioned her in a low voice. "No," he angrily asked. "What's there to talk about regarding her lying? And I'm now expected to please pardon her. I don't even comprehend. I have attempted to obtain it, but it's consuming me too. Death." The burden of the it was too much for males in DC to handle. Each time he considered the in the future, all he saw was broken relatives and unresolved issues. Was this an actual conclusion? Could they return from Overtown? Yandy was attempting to make sense of the emotions she was experiencing. She had never felt so confused and alone. Yet one of her closest pals, a reliable person who had always been present and phoned to make sure. "What are you going to do, Yandy girl? The matter has gotten out of hand. Cannot continue to act as though nothing is wrong, and it's obviously not." I'm not sure what Yandy's voice said to do more. "I attempted to correct it while shaking. Correct everything, but I believe he won't even speak to me since it's too late." Finished with me, her buddy remained quiet for a pause before speaking. "This isn't only regarding MC and you no longer Yandy about what's right. It's about the truth. You must accept accountability for your acts, regardless of how challenging they are." Yandy, although she knew her buddy was correct, the reality was more difficult to confront than anything else. She has already attempted to defend MDC. However, while doing so, she had lied about it having grown out of control and could not be fixed. Now that the harm had been done, the outcomes were extensive as the days maintained. The planets of Yandy and men, disintegrating in several directions. DC relied on his friends and family for support, for assistance as Yandy clung to the hope that in some way she wished she could correct what seemed insurmountable. However, as the drama went on, the issues became larger. MC wasn't only coping with, he was having trouble because of his wife's treachery. With his family's fundamental members being the entire globe was observing the question, awaiting the outcome. Of the next events, supporters were split, with some having thoughts about him leaving and others asserting his entitlement to advocate for the truth. And although everyone speculated about the conclusion of this explosive circumstance, it was obvious that the drama was far from completed as the days gradually went on. The tension between Yandy and males only increased. What started off as a startling reality had now become a complete public disaster. In private, with supporters and the media monitoring every action on social media, it was jam-packed with remarks, jokes, and crazy thoughts on potential outcomes for the next. Each message was carefully examined, and every outing Yandy took was met with scathing criticism. nobody seemed to be able to get away from the disaster of Mendeecees' DNA test drama. But it was evident that he required time to believe that he had distanced himself from Yandy, from the public and from the press. He was attempting to find serenity among the commotion. However, the same queries continued coming up. Would he ever be able to trust Yandy again? Was it possible to make amends for what had transpired and shattered their previous love? Felt as though a distant recollection was hidden through the falsehoods that had destroyed everything. Yandy, however, wasn't giving up. Despite the silence of males, she was dedicated to improving the situation. She realized that the road ahead would not be easy. However, she was unable to observe her passively. When her marriage failed, she attempted to reach out to M, leaving a voicemail and sending an SMS messages, and even visiting the locations where he wished for a quiet time the most. However, every attempt seems to be greeted with icy quiet. He wasn't prepared to meet her. He wasn't prepared to provide forgiveness. Evening following weeks of quiet, Yandy received an MC call, and her heart pounded as she wondered what was on the screen approaching. Would he shout once more? Would he eventually express his true thoughts? The voice of Yandy MC sounded worn out and subdued. I've been considering the opposite end. Yandy's breath seized in her throat. Chest, she longed. For this moment, Yandy went on, I really apologize, for I never intended for things to turn out this way. I am aware that I broke and that I damaged you, your confidence, but please know that I never wanted to lose you. MC felt a great void. The weight of everything is still heavy on me. I'm not sure if I can completely comprehend this, Yandy. You deceived me, for I can't pretend to be nothing for so long. Curd, and I'm not even sure who I can trust. I no longer feel that I spent my entire life having faith in those closest to me. And no, I'm not sure about anything. There was a lengthy, both of them were silent, feeling the significance of the discussion. Yandy may experience her grief once. More as men, she was aware that the words hung thick in the air. Recovery wouldn't happen right away, and it undoubtedly wouldn't be simple. She said, Men, I'm deeply damaged. I know I've betrayed your confidence, heart, and I don't think that will get better overnight, but I'm prepared to take on any task. I'm willing to fight for what it takes to solve it for our family and ourselves. The truth in her, he heard a voice, and for a brief moment, Mendez remained silent about his suffering, and anger was still raw. But something concerning Yandy's remarks that touched his heart was the woman he had spent years in love with. His children's mother is requesting another opportunity to reconstruct what they had. I'm not sure if I'm prepared for it, but I'm willing to try, MC remarked quietly. Cannot guarantee that everything will remain as it was. However, I'm willing to speak with as Yandy listened. A little spark of hope flared inside her, but it wasn't a commitment to reconcile. But it was a start, some light in a terribly gloomy hole. The weeks that followed were packed with in-depth discussions late at night. Despite intense counseling sessions, Mendez and Weil were working, and Yandy confronted her concerns. They had fabricated the falsehoods through the chaos. The hurt and betrayed trust was difficult road, but both of them were attempting to move forward. Even their relatives were impacted. Because of what had transpired, the kids may sense the conflict between their as Yandy's parents grew. Her mother continued to push her daughter to correct the situation. Additionally, DC wasn't hurrying into any. He had been severely injured, and the agony also ran for him to simply leap back into a joyful family tale. But as time passed, Mendez took a few tentative strides forward, decided to spend additional time with Yandy in order to check to see whether their connection may be fixed. For the better, they started sharing more. Furthermore, even though things weren't flawless, that they both want more between them compared to the agony they had endured, but the confidence that the wounds will stay had fractures in it. Though it was quite robust. and a long period would pass before it could actually the path ahead would be lengthy and uncertain with a lot more challenges. But for both mindsets for the first time in months, and Yandy believed they had an opportunity to genuinely start over, jointly. As for the general public, the narrative continued to expand, and fans continued to pay careful attention. Pondering what might occur next, might Ken Mendes and Yandy resolve their broken marriage or the end of it? Nobody could say with certainty what their narrative was. However, it was evident that the drama was the shock of the DNA test is still ongoing. Scandal had rocked the foundation of fans are upset over Mendeecees and Yandy's marriage. Throughout the globe, anticipating what follows as the pair tries to return together, the question still stands. Can they repair the harm that has been done for years of falsehoods? Or does this mark the conclusion of one of the most well-known couples on reality TV that we desire to find out your thoughts? Do you think Yandy and Mendeecees can rekindle their romance, or has been broken too much already? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts about this outrageous story. And remember to subscribe and like this video for further information on all the most recent twists in this startling